the Wheat Products Promotion Society's online webinar series titled Building Smart Wheat Procurement Strategies for the New Season. Thank you everyone for registering and coming forward for this program, which we thought would be best timed before just before the harvest season. And this program is split into two sessions. So we will be 20th of March at 4 p.m., where again, I think there will be more of market information that we are all seeking. We also have a power-packed panel today. Before I come to that, I wish to inform you that 20th March is the World Flower Day. So WPPS is going to be promoting that event, and I request all members on their respective channels, as we'll be celebrating the World Flower Day on 20th of March. Further, on the 9th, 10th, and 11th of July, we are proposing to hold a seminar in Banaras, which will be our annual seminar. So we will send in more information about that. As we all know, we are currently on the crossroads after 2 or 3 years of a run. This year has been a dismal year for everybody connected to wheat. So we have this little panel which has Mr. Navneet Chitlangia, Mr. Sumit Gupta, Mr. Aramal Koshi, Mr. Nitin Gupta, Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, Mr. Amit Takkar, Pankaj Goyal, Gaurav Anand, Dharmender Singh Gill, and Pradeep Kumar Srivastava. So I will now first request our opening batsman, Mr. Navneet Chitlangia, to come forward and let us know what are the challenges being faced by the roll-off flour mills in the wheat procurement and in this current year. And you shall have at least 5 minutes, Navneet. Please, the floor is yours.
Thank you, Ajay Bhaiya. So, good afternoon to all distinguished panelists, industry colleagues, and members of the wheat value chain. At the outset, I would like to thank the WPPS for organizing this timely discussion on building smart wheat procurement strategies for the new season. The subject is extremely relevant as the new wheat marketing season approaches and the industry prepares itself for another year of procurement, processing, and supply management. India's wheat ecosystem today stands at a very important juncture. On one hand, we are witnessing what appears to be a very comfortable supply scenario. The government is holding substantial closing stocks. The new crop is expected to be strong, and the wheat availability across producing states looks encouraging. However, despite this seemingly positive situation, the sentiments within the milling industry remains cautious and somewhat uncertain. If I were to identify the single most important concerns facing roller flour millers today, it would undoubtedly be the policy uncertainty. The experience of 2025-26 season has been quite bruising for many stakeholders across the value chain. A large number of participants, including millers, traders, and other intermediaries, have had to deal with unexpected policy shifts and market movements, which in many cases resulted in financial losses. This has understandably affected confidence within the ecosystem. As we approach the new procurement season, the industry is therefore asking a very simple but a critical question. What next from the government? The uncertainty surrounding government policy and market intervention has become the central concern for the entire wheat ecosystem. At present, we are entering the season with some important realities. First, high closing wheat stocks with the government. Second, a potential strong and abundant new crop arriving in the market. Third, a market ecosystem that is still recovering from the shocks of the previous year. And fourth, harvest period of 2 months and consumption period of 12 months. Under such circumstances, the industry naturally seeks clarity and predictability in policy direction. The issue, however, is not only about government action, it is also about the collective voice of the industry itself. India is a vast country with diverse production zones, consumption centers, and logistical realities. Milling units in the north, west, east, and south often operate under very different market dynamics. As a result, views within the industry on procurement policy, government intervention, and market regulations can sometimes differ. The diversity of opinion is completely natural and understandable in a country of India's size and complexity. Regional perspectives will inevitably vary due to geography, crop patterns, logistical costs, and local market conditions. However, the challenge arises when these differences lead to a multiple and sometimes conflicting voices reaching the policymakers. When the industry is unable to present a cohesive and unified recommendation, it becomes difficult to clearly articulate what the milling sector collectively expects from policy. As a consequence, the situation often reverses itself. Instead of the industry guiding policy through well considered suggestions, the entire ecosystem ends up waiting for the government to indicate the direction. This creates what I would describe as a policy vacuum combined with a web of uncertainties. For an industry that operates on thin margins, large working capital requirements, and significant price volatility, uncertainty in policy direction can be far more damaging than market fluctuations themselves. Predictability is critical for procurement planning, inventory management, pricing strategy, and long-term business decisions. Therefore, the first and most fundamental concern today is restoring clarity and confidence in the policy environment governing wheat procurement and distribution. That's my views, Ajay Bhai, on the question you have asked.
Thank you very much, Navneet. So I think government policy continues to be the big problem and unanimity in what the entire industry wants as far as government policy and how it can be equitable and justifiable to every miller in the country is a big question that the federation has been grappling with in the past. Uh, I'm sure we are now at the pits of things, so there will be some unanimity moving forward. Now, thank you so much, Navneet. Now I look forward to Sumit Gupta of Waseda Global to give us the macro and the micro picture. He is the data man of wheat, and in today's age, data is very important. So we would like to hear the summary of all the data that he has been accumulating from the globe and in India in the past few weeks for our audience. Thank you, Sumit.
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. And thank you very much, sir. It's a big responsibility. Data is very easy to get because it is abundantly available. Okay. The only thing which is challenging is interpretation. As you know, as Naveen sir has started, actually, most of the time, excess production is also a problem and short production is also a problem. The choice is ours whether we want to have a lesser problem or a larger problem. In India, right now, what we are witnessing, Indian market is fairly disconnected from the global markets. Okay, let's start with the global markets first. Today, we had abundant crops in Argentina. We, as of now, have good acreage in Black Sea, Russia, Ukraine, and Black Sea region, which is under planting. Australian last crop, that is December harvest, is looking extremely good. And if we are witnessing, because of the high freights worldwide, there is a limited logistics which is taking place. Now, just to give you in number terms, today, Australian FOB is around 275, 278. Black Sea FOB is around 240 odd levels. And Argentinian FOB is around 223, $25. Now, putting it in freight terms, CFR Asia today is around 275 to $280, which is where now India has also started translating. Let's say India today is 270 to 275 FOB Kandla equivalent basis domestic parity today. Freight from India to majority of destination is $20 to $25. So we are $15 to $20 out today in terms of parity. But the biggest challenge today in the market is connectivity. Argentina is not connected to Southeast Asia. Black Sea, it is difficult to cross Suez. Bunkering is extremely difficult. And number two, this kind of uncertainty in the global market will lead global consumers to stock more at destination because most of them are on fumes. They are scrambling to cover their cargoes. Number three, because of the container distress, all the buyers who have bought containers, it is getting delayed by at least 45 to 60 days, and which is putting additional pressure on the destination supply chains worldwide. So we are going to witness two situations. Potentially, if this war continues, then market can keep going up. But if, let's say, none of the war continues forever, especially where the US is involved, and let's hope it gets resolved, then Chicago will react and potentially will come down. But freight will also come down. And third thing, most of the destination bases will go up because there'll be extreme pressure for shipment at the most of these geographies. And this will potentially bring Indian containers of wheat and Indian bulk to few cargoes in nearby Southeast Asia into play. So we should not completely discount that India will not export. If this situation continues in short term, we will export small quantity, but if it continues for a month, we'll export 2.5 million tons of quota. Now, in terms of price, India ships only 150,000 tons at $270. If price goes up to 275, 78, we export 250,000 tons. 280, we export half a million tons. 290, we export 2.5 million tons because we get over MSP. So the range at which India ships nothing to ship everything is $20, which is a very narrow range to play. Now, the question is India comfortable, government of India comfortable letting these exports go out? And how domestic industry will need to react in that kind of situation? Because next year crop expectation is largely depend on El Nino. And as we see, there is a 80% probability of El Nino by CPC NOAA model, which is not a good thing for India. And it is also not a good thing for Australia. So keeping all those factors in mind, and especially the weather uncertainty which is coming ahead of us, one thing we should be sure that there'll be volatility which is going to stay in the local market. And as we are hearing from different sources that government has a challenge in Bardana, government has a source a problem in getting PP bags. What it may lead to is a delay in the procurement process if there is any grain of truth to what's been said. And that may potentially push cargo towards the port. And number two is as we are getting into El Nino, the grain complex usually becomes bullish. Okay, world, it is, if you look at the data of 2015, 16, 2020 through 23, 2009, 2003, if you look at all these data years, okay, there was actually becomes extremely bullish because grain production in India goes down between 5 to 6%. Maize production goes down by 9 to 10%. So there are various data points which we need to witness. One thing for sure, by confidence, we can say today government of India has abundant stock. So government of India is comfortable on wheat. And that's where they are not showing any desperation irrespective of the global uncertainty. As users, we also have to see how the global markets are reacting in that context. We should not be extremely comfortable. We are not extremely higher price than the global markets now. So your end product will get demand from destination. And we are in an interesting demand-led scenario in India. So overall, keeping all the global and Indian factors in mind, one, volatility will go up. India is in play in global markets. Number three, grain complex will become tight. And number four, we have to look at El Nino and how it will pan out and the next year crop prospect for us. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sumit, for this really lucid update on all the warnings that you have given all of us and all the fears that you have put in our minds about the future. As usual, the future again is uncertain, even with so much of wheat in our hands. So, as you rightly pointed out, the global upward trajectory in wheat prices can have an bearing impact, and maybe this 2.5 million tons can actually get out of the country over a period of time, depending on how the weather behaves globally, and uh, uh, wheat prices are likely to move northward. So, just one simple question. Is it a bottom that we are looking at in the Indian markets currently, or it is still going to be a falling knife?
Sir, I'll put it this way. India, especially if you look at the wheat prices, they are a factor of wheat and rice, actually grain complex skew, which has which has led to drop in prices, number one. Number two, government policy of not releasing stocks on time. Because of that, there is a demand substitution, demand destruction which has happened, and because of that, wheat has not found good demand. Number three, corn prices last year were extremely low, so none of the wheat or any other food ingredient found their way into feed rations. So keeping all these factors in mind, we have seen that wheat became isolated a higher price island, which has to match up with other commodities, and the prices came down. Now we are living in a new reality where potentially maize production may go down because of El Nino. Maize is already at the bottom. Chances of prices going higher is much higher from here. India maize is an export parity. Number four, global markets is only $20 away from us. 2.5 million chance, probability of 2.5 million metric ton export is only in range of $20, which is as close as you can get. And whenever any market catches export parity, you can very confidently say that it is bottom of the market. But I will like to add one thing, that today Indian processors are handicapped. They don't have a possibility of taking a Chicago hedge. Otherwise, buying India, taking a Chicago hedge is a great possibility, because that's where they get insulated with a downward movement. And the problem is that we have to either go long or we have to wait. And in this scenario where we are trading below MSP in Gujarat and other region, I will still bank on going long at this level, and potentially we are staring at the bottom of the market.
All right. Thank you. So we always come to know that it was the bottom of the market in hindsight. And although we might be sitting on the bottom of the market today, we might not be realizing that we are at the bottom of the market. So that is only known later on. And I think this is a good insight that we have got, especially compared to the other grains, especially maize and corn, which are competing for the feed space, and the productivity and production of maize and corn is really detrimental on the price of wheat. And it has been an unusual year. uh, as they say in Hindi, दूध का जला छाछ भी जो है फूक फूक के पीता है, is a sort of situation most stockists are in this season. Thank you very much, Sumit. We will come back to you if there is any other pertinent question regarding this. Now, I would like to request Mr. Koshi from Reliance Consumer Products Limited. We would like to hear his insights as a large FMCG who's procuring from various centers all over India, and has so many outlets. How do they maintain quality consistency? I don't know, what is the trick of sourcing to maintain quality consistency? I would request Mr. Koshi. This is his floor, and the floor is his, and he can also express his other views, which will be for the benefit of other listeners. Your turn, sir.
Right. Right. Thank you, Ajayji. And first of all, thank you, WPPS, for inviting me to this seminar. Let me first start. I think Navneet and Sumit has already covered most of the things as far as the markets are concerned. See, the way I look at the market is, I mean, as an FMCG player, I mean, 2 years back, I think we were in panic. Like, you know, everybody was telling that India is short of wheat, and you know, we are very closest to import parity. And this year we are in a situation completely opposite, where you know, government is sitting on a lot of stocks. We are basically approaching a crop which is significantly, which is actually better than last year. So the availability of wheat, I don't think that is a problem. And there is a quota of close to 2.5 million tons which got opened up. And again, we are very close to export parity, but my personal bias is that probably, I mean, like what happened on the import front 2 years back. I mean, we were very close to imports, but nothing happened. And this time, probably we are very close to exports, and probably nothing will happen on the export side also. And if there is a solution to the global war and all comes in the next 15 to 30 days when the harvest is at peak, then the probability of that export happening and the quota getting utilized again become significantly lower, especially considering the situation, as Sumit mentioned, that there is a good crop in almost every part of the world as we speak at this point of time. So from a FMCG point of view, I think this is a year, I mean, where there is, I don't think there is a problem from the supply. There is enough and more wheat that is going to be available throughout the year. Prices are going to remain very range bound. I don't see a big bullishness that is going to happen even towards the second half of the year. So not a situation where we have to stock up, take significant long positions very upfront. I think there is enough and more time where as an FMCG player we can phase out the buying, especially this year. So that is it from my side, Ajay. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Koshiji, for your insight and the very neutral stand as far as markets is concerned. You don't see any runaway upside as the demand side is not really encouraging and supply side is very good. Just one question regarding quality, sir. Any reports on the qualitative part of the crop this year? Where is the good value and where is the good quality?
No, at present, I would put it as too early to comment. And from the Reliance point of view, we are mostly limiting our purchases to buying flour instead of buying wheat, at least in the beginning, at least at this point of time. So we leave the expert wheat millers like you to manage the quality risk for us, and help us manage the quality part. Thank you.
Thank you. So I think this is a good decision, and millers would be happy that they will not have to compete with you in, wheat storage and things like that, and you will be their customer, which is really good news. Thank you so much. Now I would now request Mr. Nitin Gupta, Chief Operating Officer and Senior Vice President of Olam Agri, to come forward and give us the global supply chain perspective and the India outlook for the forthcoming season. Nitinji?
Sure. Thank you, Ajay. Thank you so much. And it's a pleasure and honor to be a part of this platform. And thank you all the esteemed panelists and the audiences who are listening to this webinar. So I think as far as wheat is concerned, India is in a very interesting space right now. So I would say that after a gap of almost 3.5 years now, almost all the restrictions on wheat has been completely removed by the government of India. There is no stock limit. And on top of it, government has decided to issue an export quota of 2.5 million tons for wheat and in 2 tranches of 500,000 tons each of wheat product exports. So I think we couldn't have asked for more as far as the beginning of this year is concerned. Regarding the crop, I would say that we all are clearly seeing that basis sowing numbers, the crop is going to be 2 to 3% more. And if you go by government numbers, so it's, last year it was 117. They are saying that it could be 120, and whatever number private trade has considered, I think as per today's current scenario, it's going to be 2 to 3% more. And my understanding would be the way weather or the temperature has increased in the last week to 10 days. Even if on the flip side, this 2 to 3% gets wiped away, nothing more than that. So in worst case scenario, India can see a similar kind of crop which India has seen last year. So I clearly don't see any concern on the crop production side. I'm so sorry. Regarding the procurement side, I think to start with, government will be sitting on a very healthy stock of more than 22 million metric ton to start this year, which is going to be one of the highest in the last 3 to 4 years. And I don't see any reason that why government would not achieve their target of 30 or 30.05 million metric ton of number. So if that happens, I think government would be very, very comfortable. They have already announced certain bonuses on a couple of states. And the way prices are lined up today, which is well below the MSP levels, I clearly see that government would be sitting on a very comfortable stock. So this is as far as the local production, procurement, and the stock levels are there in the country. So I clearly resonate with my other panelists also that as far as the supply side is there is definitely not going to be a concern. Moving on to the global supply chain side, I think with the geopolitical situation, which all started in 2022 when this Russia-Ukraine war started, and that was exactly almost 4 years back, the world scenario, especially wheat, was on a fractured economy, right? So a lot of disturbances, disruptions we have seen and happened in the last couple of years. And finally, because of this current war between US, Israel, and Iran, I think the whole geopolitical situation has now come onto the clutches. So there are both flip side and positive sides to it. On positive or the flip side, I would say that clearly the market scenarios are very, very uncertain now. And nobody knows that how long this war will continue. And if that happens, clearly the impact first would be on the crude oil prices. And with the crude, everything will start going up. So we can clearly see ourselves in a high inflation zone as far as this war is concerned. And then, of course, the impact on fertilizer, energy, everything will start falling on the wheat prices. So clearly, that's the other concern on this area. Regarding bunker prices, we have seen that the bunker prices, which were hovering around $500, so they are today at close to $1,100. So almost a jump of more than 2 times in the last 10 to 12 days since this war has started on 28th of February. So clearly that has resulted into increase in the freight charges. And we clearly see that those freights have gone up by 15 to 20%. And if crude oil prices goes beyond $120 barrel per day, per ton, then clearly we can see that the freight increase can be up to 35 to 40%, which is again a bigger cause of concern. Then at the home ground level, we clearly seeing that the packaging metal prices. So because of all this situation, the packaging metal supply is a constant. And as far as prices are there, that has gone up by almost 100% as far as the PP prices are there in the country. And everything will start resulting into the overall FOB price increase, even if we decide and go for the wheat exports. But that's just one part of the story. I am more bullish from the wheat export point of view, because with all this disruption, I think the best part is that the freights are very uncertain and they have gone up. So as Sumit mentioned about Argentina, Black Sea and Australian wheat, I think India will be very well positioned at $270, $275 of FOB, and with freight of between $20, $25, I think India will be very much there into the parity, despite all these disruptions. And on top of it, I think the one big factor would be the currency side, because we have seen a good depreciation in currency in the last week to 10 days because of this war situation and the crude oil prices. And we can clearly see that if this war continues for some more time, then the rupee can further depreciate, and that would be translating into lower FOB prices from India. So we can clearly see that the range is narrow, which Sumit mentioned, that it could be between 270 to 290 levels, and how the overall wheat exports can happen. But I'm very positive that with all these uncertainties which are happening at the global level, and despite such a supply positive situation globally, we are clearly seeing that the overall global wheat prices are going up. So which is a clear-cut positive sign for Indian wheat to start gaining traction in the neighboring countries, especially into Bangladesh, Vietnam, and some of the other neighboring countries. So clearly, these are some of the very, very positive factors for India wheat exports. I would clearly summarize it into 3 C's, that 3 C's are going to define the wheat situation in the country for next year, which is crude, currency, and climate. So I think these 3 C's are going to be the deciding factor for wheat in the coming months or in the next 1 year.
All right, great. Thank you, Nitinji, for your really 360-degree insight into wheat. And one question which I'm being asked on my WhatsApp by 3 participants is, sir, like last year, will wheat be on a will move like a tortoise, or will it move like a hare this year?
I think that wheat is definitely
worth
it's not
hello.
I mean, as far as if they're asking about prices or overall wheat scenario.
Overall wheat scenario, would it be a good idea to create a price hedge in these prices for the next 8-12 months?
I would say that it's definitely we are seeing the bottom at 22, 23 rupees in case of wheat. And wheat could be definitely a range bound situation, but with all these uncertainties, we are clearly see that wheat will have a very good run in the coming year. And definitely it's not going to be a tortoise story. It's definitely, if not a lion or cheetah story, it's going to be a rabbit story for sure.
Okay, thank you for sticking your neck out and telling us this, because I think a lot of people are disheartened with the last year, and everybody is gathering the courage to put their feet into the waters this time, because they have also faced an uncertainty of demand in the past year. And do you think these other seas, like you mentioned crude and currency and climate, will also have a bearing on finished product demand of industrial wheat products?
I think yes. I would be very positive on that aspect as well. And one thing is, Ajit, to our audience, I think we should stop seeing one particular commodity in isolation. I think this is the time. Sumit also mentioned to a certain extent that this is the time that we have to start seeing a complete rice and grains complex, because it's all about fuel, feed, and food, right? So we have to clearly see, and government is also very clear that they need to balance between all these three, because all these three will have a very different kind of importance in such challenging times. So we have to start seeing this whole complex as one, and then start picking our view accordingly.
So you see much more demand for fuel from maize, out of maize. You think a lot of diversion?
I'm very bullish on that, Ajay. With India having 80% of their reliance on crude oil, which is purely imported, I think these are the challenging times, and I think government has done a wonderful job by reaching this 20% of EBS program right in the 2025 itself. But I think now this is the time to start leveraging on that, and I think in such challenging times, government will definitely like to do that.
सबके गाड़ियों का माइलेज घट गया है नितिन जी.
No, it's only a matter of time, I believe.
Okay. Thank you so much for coming out and expressing your views so openly and frankly and honestly to our audience. Thank you very much. We'll come back to you if there are any other questions in the chat box directed to you, sir. Thank you very much. I would now request Mr. Amit Thakkar to come forward and give us his presentation on contracts. So basically, every year we have volatility in the markets, and we enter into contracts, and there are upsides and downsides, and so many issues that emerge out of poor contracts or no contracts. And if you are going to be taking a position and procuring and looking forward to the season, the contract is a very important and essential part of a good strategy of procurement. So I would now request Mr. Amit Thakkar of Conifer Commodities to come forward and give his presentation. Amit ji?
Yeah, good afternoon. Thank you very much, Ajay ji, WPPS, all my fellow panelists, all my dear friends there. Looks like we are heading into a year. I mean, it looks like a near unanimous opinion that we are getting into definitely some kind of an export campaign. Whether it is 2.5 million or less than that is something which needs to be seen. What I've done here is very quickly, I'm going to show you certain flows, whether it is, domestic market or international market, doesn't matter, because the basic flows remain the same. Is my screen visible?
Yes, it is visible.
Okay. So very quickly, what we need to see here is that, okay, 1 second. Okay, yeah. So I will straight away jump to a basic question as to why do grain trade disputes happen? In my experience, price volatility after contract signing obviously stands out as as the single largest reason. We have issues in terms of logistics disruptions, which could be in today's scenario attributed to force majeure, or in times interstate movements, or any other form of logistic disruption. Quality quantity issues, we have always seen quality quantity being one of the largest, also one of the major ones around. Financial stress, which means one party is unable to perform due to financial constraints. And last but not the least, the most important, I would say, is the poor understanding of contract clauses. So how do we go about resolving this? So I'll just take you through the basic cycle of how the standard contracts matter. So if you have a set of standard contracts, whether it is international or domestic, interstate, within mandis, within a trading community, if you have a standard contract, it reduces ambiguity. People know exactly what the obligations are. Each party knows its obligations very clearly. It's also globally acceptable trade practices. It's aligned with the globally acceptable trade practices. It offers a structured dispute resolution. Now, when you get into a dispute, I hope nobody gets into dispute, but disputes do happen. So when disputes happen, how do you resolve those disputes? So there has to be a structured dispute resolution mechanism rather than going to courts and waiting for 20 years to settle. And then last but not the least, it supports the trust in grain trade. So this is how a standard contract will help all of us if we have something like that. Now, what is a standard contract? The standard contract, in my opinion, has got three basic sections. One is which is contract specific, which is particularly your own business confirmation. मैंने इतनी गेहूं इस प्राइस में ली. Now, और कहाँ ली, कितने बजे, कहाँ delivery थी, which warehouse, what was the delivery conditions, what was the packaging, whether it was in PP bags or bulk or delivered at the port, or if you are an exporter, when you are exporting to your buyers. Then there are standard performance terms in a contract. Standard performance terms meaning certain terms which have to remain as it is, which are not very, very flexible to change. And the third part is the what if clauses. What if meaning if there is a risk, if there's a dispute, if there is a force majeure, if there's a war, what happens when these situations happen? So these are the three primary structures of a standard contract. So coming to your contract specific, your business confirmation. So you describe your commodity, which is very important that you describe your commodity as clearly as possible. Milling wheat, you can't just say wheat. When you say wheat, is it for milling or is it for feed or is it for seed? For what purpose? So you should describe it as much as possible because that helps you in establishing what you had actually bought. Quality and quantity, obviously, you have to specify. Shipment or delivery period, which you have to specify. Port of loading or a warehouse of loading or a station of loading or discharge. These are the primary things that you decide when you're doing your own business confirmation. Payment terms, advance hai, LC hai, cash against documents at the bank hai, whatever the payment terms are that you define. And there are a few more also. So I'm not going to be very, very descriptive in the short time that we have here. Then we have the standard performance, which we call it as the execution terms. So weight or quality, where is it determined? Is it determined at the point of loading, or is it determined at the point of discharge, or is it determined at the time when you are receiving the cargo at your mills, or your buyers are receiving it at their ports? So where you have to define that. In international trade, certificate becomes the most important document because people are not coming and checking your products every time. So it is the set of surveys who are checking it, whose certificates become final. So certificates being final is a very, very critical part in international trade. Then you have the regular documents, bills of lading, transport documents, certificate of origin, FITO, invoices. Another very critical part of standard performance is risk and insurance. Whose risk is it? When does the risk pass from one party to another? Who is taking the insurance? If a vessel is bombed on way, who is going to be responsible for it? For example, if the cargo is already on water and if it is a CNF sail, and if it goes and it gets bombed or sits at the bottom of the sea, the seller is not responsible. It is the buyer who is responsible, even if he has not paid, because the insurance was his responsibility. So you need to be very careful in terms of what is the risk and when is the risk passing on and who covers the insurance. Another important factor is nominations in terms of vessels or containers and appropriations and notices. Now, these are the things which are very, very important to be followed. So similarly, I move on to the third part, which is your what if clauses. Now, what is a what if clause? You need an extension of shipment because you are unable to ship due to certain reasons, which does the contract allow you a shipment extension? First of all, you need to see that. And if it does allow, what is it? What are the steps that you need to take? So you have to be very, very careful there. If there is a default by one of the parties, what do you do if there is a default? You need to know what you need to do. You just can't just say, "Usne default kar diya. Abhi mere liye, I need to have my next steps ready." So that is what is important. If there's a quality or a quantity dispute, what do you do then? If there's a damage or loss during transit, what do you do then? If there's a prevention of shipment or delivery, which is a force majeure like a war or a strike or any other form of force majeure, COVID clauses. And last but not the least, what is the jurisdiction of your contract? Which part of the world is the contract signed in terms of its jurisdiction, and what are your arbitration clauses? So these are the three clear sections of a nicely defined contract, which will allow you not only to negotiate. So the first thing, when you're negotiating a deal, don't just negotiate price and other things. I would always recommend you negotiate all your terms. All your terms are clearly visible to both the parties. So it is not just price. Price is the last thing I always say. You negotiate your terms first and get everything in place, and then strike the price at the right time. That's the right way to get into a good trading practice. So once you have done all that, you have to finalize your contract, you have to write it, sign it. Always recommended, although English law allows you even unsigned contracts to be acceptable, but it's always better to have signed contracts. And then next stage, of course, is the execution and delivery. And then you have to the completion or a settlement. Even if your contract is undelivered, unshipped, you must reach a settlement. You should not leave it open. So that's the complete flow I'm talking about. So friends, the key takeaways from my few minutes of talk is, and I'm always available for the interactions and questions. In my opinion, the most disputes in grain trade, it's not just from unclear contracts. There are various other ways. There are various other reasons. Market movements, logistics failures, financials, expectations between parties. So the recommendation is always avoid disputes rather than win them. Don't try to win over a dispute. Try to avoid it. But if the case is that it is not possible, then you need to have a strong contract, a standardized contract, which will help you to manage your risk, maintain your trust, and resolve your disputes efficiently. I think I'll stop here if it is 5 minutes, and I'm open to all the discussions. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Amitji. Although this might sound very elementary contract, but it is very important and we tend to ignore it. And as you put it, price should not be the top thing, but the terms, to safeguard yourself. And we hope that very soon WPPS will be in a position to release a sort of a simpler standard contract for the benefit of all, which should be acceptable to both buyer and seller with the practiced trade terms which are there currently. And so this piece of advice is always ensure that you have a contract, read it well, make sure that There is nothing detrimental in the contract, and there are no, as you say, dark places where you don't know whose responsibility it is. You think it has landed up to your mill, and maybe the responsibility is over after the cargo is loaded, even locally, and the truck overturns, and we still keep demanding the wheat in our mills. So I think thank you so much for all this insight, and we will make your number available and contact available to all, so that if they are interested in reaching out to you directly, they can do that, and we will also try to come out with a standardized local contract. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Yeah.
Now I would like to invite Mr. G. Chandrasekhar, former senior editor at the Hindu Business Line, economist and veteran of wheat. I've been hearing him ever since I have entered this line, either hearing him or reading all his commentary on wheat since at least 40 years. So I'm sure he has been around reporting on wheat more than that. Mr. Chandrasekhar, we would like to know from you both about production and price outlook for this year. The floor is yours, sir.
Sure. Thank you, Ajay. I'm delighted to be here as part of this conference and among the panel of speakers. Two things. Because I was in another event, I joined only 10 minutes ago, so I have not had the benefit of hearing all the other preceding expert speakers. Number two, I have no trading interests. I don't hold any trading position anywhere in any commodity, neither in the physical market nor in the derivatives market. I'm a student of the commodities market, and that's where I'm coming from. My own research shows, and I've been tracking what I'm seeing over the last so many decades. My own research shows, and I don't know how many would agree, that the government of India's estimate of wheat production for Rabi 25-26, which is kind of under harvest or going to be harvested now, is 120 million tons. I'm not able to persuade myself to accepting that number. My belief is this number is clearly overstated by at least 10%, if not more. Number one. Number two, those of you who have read the press note will see a fine print at the bottom saying this is a tentative number. Crop cutting survey is not completed, and it is subject to revision. This is the first one. Across states, look at the age. Although the acreage this year is 33.4 million hectares, 6 lakh hectares more than what it was last year. And the target is 119 million tons, whereas production estimate is 120 million tons. Vis-a-vis last year's 117.9 million tons. All of that, my sense is both last year and this year production is overstated. This is number one. I'm not here to raise any alarm, but I want the market participants to take this on board. And the minus of the crop could be between tons, which is still under Indian contract.
In spite of having a big bumper crop, I think a record crop the nation has never had in the past. So thank you very much for your insights. I will come back to you if there are any other specific questions directed towards you, sir. Thank you once again for joining us.
My pleasure.
It's now my pleasure to invite Mr. Pankaj Goyal of Kailash Grain, MP, to come forward and give us a little more information on digital trade and digital contracting, and his viewpoint as to how Madhya Pradesh crop is looking currently. Pankajji, the floor is yours.
So thank you, Ajay, for having me in this session, and thank you, panelists, for giving your views on wheat supply demand and also the price discovery for the coming year ahead. So when I see currently whatever the panelists have spoken before me, they're all talking about one single thing, which is risk, which is about volatility. So from processors or traders' perspective, today's trade environment is not just volatile, it is sensitive, it is fast moving and trust dependent. So the answer is not more complexity. The answer is better clarity, better documentation, better alignment of risk between buyers and sellers. So for me, I would say in international trade, we are already having a much more better system of documentation, much more system of contracts. But when we see currently in our domestic trade between the traders, mandis, farmers, or between the supplies, whatever we are having, so contracts are not part of our trade. हम लोग अभी भी बोल दिया जबान की कीमत पे ट्रस्ट पे we are doing. But today's time, we have seen the volatility, the kind of volatility which are happening in the trade is tremendous. So in this volatile markets, the real issue is not only the price risk. The bigger issue is the ambiguity. So better contracts, better documentation, reduce the disputes, protects the relationship, and makes trade scalable. We can work on a long-term relationship if we have a better contract. So in simple terms, I would say the problem is not the near, the problem is the situation. So if we have clearly defined all the risk from all the sides, so certainly that can give a lot of scalability, lot of trust and long-term partnership in our relationship. So there are a lot of things where the clarity are needed. हम लोग जानते हैं हमारे मिल में गाड़ी आई मद्दी आई तो भाई 20 रुपए की जगह उसमें 2 किलो क्लेम की जगह 4 किलो क्लेम डाल दे. अगर तेजी आई तो क्लेम वाला हल भी खाली हो जाता है. So this is some of the things. This is just on the part of the quality. There are a lot of things. Tolerance limit हम लोग करते हैं +-5%, 10%. 100 टन का सौदा है तो ये 90 ही देने वाला हूँ मैं, तो ये 110 देने वाला हूँ. So how do you define the tolerance limit? How do you define the packing norms? How do you define the delivery schedules? So if all these things are well documented, and it is not just from the one side, I would say, not from the buyer or only from the seller perspective, but this is more clear to both the parties. So then we think the relationship is better and we are able to see the volatility. So volatility is part of our life right now. Since COVID, we are seeing it because of the war, because of the government policies, because of the current situation, what we are looking. So certainly volatility is there. The risk is always there. But how you're going to manage the risk, that is most crucial thing, which I think everybody should be taking care of, should understand it. I would just give you 2 days back example. Somebody, one of our B2B buyer asked me here, give me the contract or the price for whole 1 year. So I said, no, you just need to clearly define me what quantities you are looking at, what would be the delivery schedule, what would be the quality parameters. In case of any disputes, what would be the arbitration, who will be the third party, the inspection agency. So usually we said, no, we'll go for an SGS because तेजी मद्दी में सब माल अलग दिखने लगता है. Everybody knows that. So what is the standard thing where we follow the standard? So this is very important, and it has to be not one way. It has to be both the sides. So whether I am a buyer or I am a seller, the risk and the clarity brings stability in the trade, and I think that is very important. The safer contracts are those where both upsides and downside are understood in advance. A good contract should not only define the deal, it should define how the both parties will behave when the things do not go as per the plan. So even we are well defined, what would be the claim? So let's say currently we had some exports contract for Gulf, and suddenly there has been a $2,000 of an additional fee which has been charged by the Middle East ports. So when I say $2,000. Before that, the freight was $50, and now suddenly $2,000. And if I enter a contract and a buyer is asking me to ship the good, so how this thing is going to be taken care of? Unfortunately, हमने भी ये contract में we have not taken this clause, but now we are trying to negotiate with the buyer that no, it is not possible to bear the $2,000 for the charges which have been levied by your country on the port because of the current situation in the war. So I would say the contract should have clear commercial clarity, operational clarity, risk sharing. If risk sharing again, if anything goes here and there, so who will be sharing what kind of a risk? Claim discipline, what kind of a claim will charge, and relationship transparency. So the contracts has to be well defined. I would say it has to be simple, and it has to be well prepared, looking at all the scenarios. Even we can consider the government policies. या गवर्नमेंट ने स्टॉक लिमिट लगा दिया है, गवर्नमेंट ने कुछ एक्सपोर्ट इम्पोर्ट ओपन कर दिया, तो it's kind of risk. Whatever the risk we include in our contract and define our contract would certainly give us a long-term perspective from both the sides. Also, I would say certainly if we are taking so many risks, there would be a premium for the risk. But it's up to everyone how they wanted to be exposed. They wanted to cover their risk, or they wanted to be exposed. So that is about the contract. When I talk about the digital contract, so digital contract surely brings a lot of things into the system. It is well noted. You can have well documented. You can have whole of the chain, and the traceability is there for the digital contract. And digital contract certainly brings more, organized way of documentation and the things. So those are really recommended. But before going for the digital contract, I would say a simple, well-defined contract where buyer and seller are, well aware about the volatility, and they both are, then betting for the price which is required, and we can build up a long-term relationship on that side. So this was from the contract point of view. I have one document which I can, if you want, share on the contract. I think my screen is not allowed to share. So I'll send you across over the WhatsApp group. Regarding Madhya Pradesh crop, I would say the crop has started coming in our western region, or crop Nimad, Malwa, and everywhere it's just started coming. Lastly, कुछ rainfall हुआ था, तो crop damage है, पोटिया काफी हुआ है, but farmers initially मंडी 2200-2300 भी जाने लगी थी, 2100 भी पहुंच गई थी. But from last 5-6 days, we have seen farmers are not selling the wheat, and they're looking for that the government will start procuring from the 1st of April. So there is little bit of resistance from the farmer side. और थोड़ा इनिशियल क्वालिटी डैमेज दिख रहा है मुझे, जो लास्ट फर्स्ट वीक में, फरवरी एंड वीक में जो बारिश हुई थी उसके कारण. बट इन टर्म्स ऑफ साइज क्रॉप लुक वेरी गुड. सर्टनली acreage बढ़ा है, and when I'm talking to the farmers, continuously taking the feedback from the farm side, so not any change in the productivity or the yield has been seen, and the crop looks good enough right now. Certainly the temperature के concerns आ रहे हैं सब लोगों को कि temperature बढ़ रहा है. Indore is having a 36-37 as a temperature yesterday and today. So temperature के concerns आ रहे हैं, but मुझे नहीं लगता है temperature के कारण कुछ बहुत major effect आएगा. 1 or 2% का effect आ सकता है, but the crop looks really good. And this is about Madhya Pradesh. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Pankaj ji. Somebody told me अगर गर्मी ज्यादा बढ़े तो beer पियो. I think it's a good advice. So, and as you have mentioned, one thing certain about the future is that it is full of uncertainties, and we are always, buying wheat, selling our wheat products, entering into contracts. So although it is again an elementary thing that we should always if we should at least insulate ourselves against unforeseen risks when we commit ourselves. So definitely we have two people who have stressed on the importance of contracts, or clear cut understanding, written understanding when we make a bargain, because sometimes a poor contract can be a bigger reason of loss rather than the price rise or fall itself. So thank you very much, and thank you for your insight on Madhya Pradesh. Do check out the nearest beer bar when it goes warmer. Just a joke. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
It's now my pleasure to ask Mr. Gaurav Anand, General Manager, Grain Business, ITC, who is well known amongst the top 5 private procurers of wheat in the country, and having a big network of procurement and great in-depth understanding of the Indian markets. Gaurav, I would like you to present your perspective on the current year's crop, and where are the value buys, and what is your recommendation, or what is your outlook for the coming 8-10 months as well. The floor is yours, Gaurav.
Thank you so much, sir. Always a pleasure to join WPPS in terms of seminars, in terms of physical meetings. So it has always been a pleasure. Talking about the crop which is there, which has not been harvested. So there is one only red flag which we are seeing is in UP and Bihar, where the temperature concerns are there. But that will be compensated by the carryover stocks. So I'm not the carryover stock will be cancelled by the temperature impact in UP and Bihar. That is our take on crop estimate. It will be higher, but not that much. I will not talk about absolute numbers, but because it is not yet verified, because the crop size is so much. So I will say it will be 1 or 2 million metric ton more than the last year number. So that is our estimate on the crop numbers. And if you talk about the quality, so quality, as far as Lokwan is considered, there are some concern in terms of black tips in Gujarat. The reason being the seed which is being used is very primitive and very old. So because of that, black tip issues are coming, which is higher by, you can say, 3-4% as compared to last year. But as a good buyer, we are segregating it at our warehouses. That is adding to the cost of the suppliers as well. So that is one thing which is coming up in case of Gujarat. So there is a concern, but otherwise, production wise, Gujarat, Maharashtra productions are very good. There have been upside of, I think, 5% as compared to last year. In terms of MP, the production is almost equal or more by 2%. And UP and Bihar is a space where we should be watchful in coming 15-20 days. So that is the take on crop production and prices. One thing which I personally see as is, at a psychological level, a silver lining for the last year was, I see a silver lining in the last year trade which has happened. So last year it was a rat race among picking up the stocks at any price. So that psychological level has put us in a wrong entry point. The prices which entering into a market, picking up the stocks at the price level. So I think this has last year experience has given a good, you can say, a lesson, so that we should enter at a right point, which is currently there in terms of prices in Gujarat and Maharashtra. I resonate with Sumit Bhai's presentation thought of the prices, that Gujarat is at the bottom level. We also think the same way. In Gujarat and Maharashtra, prices are at the bottom level. In MP, UP, and Bihar, prices may fall further, but the prices of the forward, which is going on, is at the bottom level. So, and the export parity, you can say we are missing by $20-25, which in near future, seeing the uncertainty and volatility, the opportunity may come, and we will be able to 2.5 be able to export 2.5 million metric ton from the country. But the only thing is there is no free trade. There is export system, quota system, which is there. We need to apply, and we need to put the contracts into the system of DGFT. Then only you will get the approval. That is one concern which we see, that everyone will not get to export wheat unless he gets the contract and then applies on the DGFT portal. So that is one area. Talking about the climate risk, El Nino is a concern this year, in the second half of the year. So there, I see rice acreage going, rice production going down, and maize is also a concern. So we have to see holistically wheat, rice, and maize. So there is a concern there in terms of climate uncertainty. So if we put together all these things, I think the parity of $20-25 is sitting in currency. If the war continues, the dollar appreciates, and if the arrival pressure starts and the prices falls to a level where you get that parity, then this parity level, the game of $20-25 can be nullified. So I think for the stockist, or you can say for the millers who have their own consumption, these price points in Gujarat and Maharashtra, and in terms of Bihar, in MP, are the levels where a person can think of taking the stocks. Coming about, sir, talking about building resilient supply chain, which we always focus as ITC. So that covers a diversified sourcing from different regions to have a proper blend. In terms of Gujarat, if we are not getting good Lok-1, we should always think of getting that quality of Lok-1 from Maharashtra, and for that matter from MP. So that is one factor which we should always look. And then there's some digital intervention should always be there, where we have to be very agile in terms of having contracts, you can say tender basis digitally, so that there is transparency in the system. And then there should be a network of good suppliers and farmers and FPOs. So you have diversification there as well, so that you get good supplies and you have that negotiating power. So these all areas we focus on, and we have network of around 2.2 million farmers. So we mainly bang on them, and we get the real time information as well, because trade always happens fast and accurate when you get real time information from the field. So that is how we operate, and that is from my side, sir, the limited thing which I can contribute. Thank you, sir.
Thank you very much, Gaurav. Really heartening to listen to you. Just a few questions to you, Gaurav.
Yes, sir.
What do you think has changed at the procurement end over the past few years in terms of checking and testing the quality that is coming into warehouses for stocking? What have you noticed? Has that landscape changed?
Yes, sir. So in that, as I already mentioned, that there is diversified sourcing network or strategy which companies are following, which a person sitting in South is also following, taking input from companies like ITC or Olam or LDC. So that is there. But instead of that, we also invested in NIR machines at our warehouses to have the gluten checked from wheat itself. So there is FOS machine of an NIR based machine through which we can test gluten, and then we can always offer to the customers or for our internal requirement. So that is one thing which I have seen as a change. So we are going one step ahead. So instead of checking in maida, we are checking in wheat. So that is one thing which has changed. Second is collaborative value creation which has happened. Like we are going digital. You can say digital procurement platform is there, where we are running the auctions digitally. So there is transparency. There is no complaints of suppliers that we have not got the calls of taking the materials. So that is one thing which has changed in companies in terms of procurement. And then there is you can say investment in terms of wheat development, giving seeds to the farmers, training the farmers, growing different varieties of wheat which can contribute to value creation in farmers as well, and in terms of companies as well in getting good quality wheat. So that is how we are seeing the landscape changing.
Thank you. So just two, three small quick ones from you, Gaurav. Will we see an app very soon from ITC wherein sitting in my house, I can buy at various locations through you or through an app and accumulate my quantities? Is there a possibility?
I'm wondering how you got our internal discussions leaked to you, sir. So
Good one. Good one. Good one.
All right. And just one more thing, you're saying not to chase the markets, Last year, what the millers did, suffer was because they were chasing the markets.
right.
So just as a, which level do you think is a good entry level in the next 30, 40, 50, 60 days on a price basis in either UP or any of the large surplus, open market surplus states?
So in terms of so I will answer this into two parts. Like first is how one should decide on how much to stock. So how much to stock should be a balanced one. Like we should not stock the 100% of the wheat requirement. It is for sure, because last year happened. Some people have stocked 100% of their requirement in season itself. That was a bad call. We need, because the, as we are saying, there is so much uncertainty in the market. So we need to have a balanced thing going. We need to have 60%, 50% basis on their requirement and their risk appetite and the quality demand they have, consistency demand they have. They have to take a call on how much to stock. So that is one. Second is on the price range. As the arrival has started in Gujarat and Maharashtra, so there the psychological level in middle quality variety is of the farmers are not going beyond 2200 per quintal. Below that, farmers are resistant to sell their produce. So I think 2200 loose price is a very attractive price. 2200, 2250 is an attractive price to currently to have stocks. So that is one thing for milk quality. And in Lokwan, we think 100 rupees up. So because in Gujarat, we are getting around 24 or 2450 rupees per kg Lokwan. And in MP and in Rajasthan, we are not getting below 25. So there is disparity of 100 rupees. So Gujarat arrivals are there. And surprisingly, in Gujarat also, the arrivals are scattered. The arrivals have not started in Rajkot as of now in full-fledged manner. In Nadia, there is no arrival as of now. From Monday, Tuesday, arrivals are expected to increase. So this time, arrivals as compared to last year's are slower. So that is because prices are not going down as far as quickly, but it may go in terms of prices 20-25 rupees, but these are the bottom levels. In terms of UP, again I will say in UP in past it has not happened for 4-5 years that mandis have been sold below MSP. So it will be an interesting thing to look out for, because there the MSP or above MSP the prices was there. So this time I think it will be below by 2 to 2.5 rupees per kg, not below that, below MSP. So 2200 to 2300 the prices will hover in UP mandi prices.
Great. So you think loose wheat price at 2200 has a great support, and sellers might not be keen or eager to dispose beyond that price, and that could be a good entry level anybody seeking to accumulate
Yes, sir.
in the next
In addition
30
to
to
that, from
60
UP
days.
and in addition to that, in UP and Bihar, there is parity of Bangladesh and Nepal also. So another, I don't think prices not going so down in UP and Bihar.
Thank you so much. I would now request my other two panelists who have been waiting so patiently, Dharmender Singh Gill, representing the Punjab Flour Millers Association and from Punjab. This year, Punjab has been an outstanding example, which had such a big crop, and still the millers were facing a deficit of wheat almost till the fag end of the year. And It is the biggest contributor to the central pool as well. So I would like to have your perspective, Dharmender, on this year's crop and the surrounding areas, and how do you see the year panning out?
Thank you, sir. Thank you for having me on this webinar. And it's a pleasure and it's an honor to be a part of such eminent speakers. And yes, sir, like you were mentioning, even I fondly remember listening to Chandrasekhar ji, and like many years back, and he had strongly put forward this point of that government should not go for cash transfers. That is one seminar of his which I attended. So talking about the wheat crop in Punjab is obviously it's going to come in say mid-April, or maybe say about 4-5 days prior to that, because of the climatic conditions. The crop in Punjab is fine, the quality would be fine. Yes, marginally last year we had a more than so the average yield was much better than normal preceding years. So this year maybe it is not as much, like per acre it was touching 25 quintals. So this year it may not touch 25, maybe around 23, 22, but it'll be a normal crop. So like it's a saying ji कि अनाज जब घर ना आना आ जाए उसका कुछ पता नहीं चलता. तो ये अनसर्टेनिटी जो मौसम की है, और इन दिनों में हम ये भी कहते हैं जी कि सोने की बारिश भी ना पड़े 25 मार्च के बाद. तो मौसम अगर सारा इफ्स एंड बट्स पे दुनिया टिकी हुई है जी. आज सारा जो हमारा वेबिनार भी चला है उसमें चंद्रशेखर जी ने भी यही कहा कि 3-4 महीने की उम्मीद थी लड़ाई की, वो चल गई 4 साल. तो यस, इफ्स एंड बट्स तो बड़ा मेजर है जी. नवनीत जी ने भी वैलिड पॉइंट रेज किया है फ्रॉम अ प्रोसेसर्स पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू कि अगर ये शॉर्टेजेस और लंबी चल जाती हैं तो then becomes a matter of concern for us. But sticking to my topic only, about wheat, this is the scene. And yes, previous years में there was, our area did feel a shortage of wheat because यहाँ ज़्यादा traders ने जो है material वो store नहीं किया था. So hence we had no access to that. So whatever stocks processors had kept, that got depleted. And dependence on local millers, traders was not available. So hence that shortage was being felt in Punjab.
So this year, do you think Punjab millers will stock in more than normally they would have done in the past?
So it becomes an individualistic call, Hana. Basis ki what kind of sale pattern do you have? Are you going long? Are you not going long? Or do you choose not to go long? So basis that, but yes, wheat में तो ट्रेड जो हमारी पंजाब इंडस्ट्री देख रही है, कोई मंदा तो देख नहीं रही सर. जब ऐसी टर्मोइल हो है ना ऑन अ इंटरनेशनल लेवल, raises all the boards, तो वो इशू खड़ा हो ही जाता है जी. पैनिक बाइंग हो, चाहे जो हमने कोविड में भी देखा ना, ज़रूरत से ज़्यादा बढ़ जाती है. तो ये कोई ऐसा तो नहीं है, या पीपल आर वुड बी विलिंग टू बाय. लेकिन पंजाब क्रॉप एंड मेनली चलो जो यूपी राजस्थान है, दैट इज़ येट टू कम इन फुल फ्लेज. सो वंस दैट कम्स इन 1st of April से गवर्नमेंट इज़ टू कम इन टू द मार्केट. तो तब क्या सिनारियो होता है कि जो अभी क्रॉप आया है तो इज़ वेरी मिनिस्क्यूल है ना जी. ज़्यादा स्टोरेज, और वो भी चलो गुजरात में होगी, यादव होगी. तो मेजर जो वीट बेल्ट है इनमें तो आने वाले दिनों में क्रॉप आएगा, एंड मौसम टिका रहे, अच्छा रहे तो ठीक रहेगा.
एंड व्हाट डू यू से अबाउट द पैकेजिंग मटेरियल की जो क्राइसिस दिख रही है, विल इट इम्पैक्ट द प्रोक्योरमेंट इन पंजाब इन एनी मैनर?
Sir, not that one has heard of anything like how Navneet ji was mentioning. Not to my knowledge. मतलब अगर गवर्नमेंट का है तो we have not got any. But what normally happens with Punjab ना जी, because they are very clear about their numbers. So their planning and everything happens well in advance. This is what has been normally happening. So Punjab has never felt this shortage of packaging material. So they are prepared for these numbers.
Great. Right. Thank you, Dharmendra ji. Anything else you would like to add?
No, thank you, sir. ऐसे seminars रखते रहिए. You are doing a wonderful job, ji, and certainly that contract bit is much needed. What you are thinking on, ji? What you are thinking on? Making a model contract form. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you for joining in. I would now request Mr. Pradeep Kumar Srivastav, supply chain strategist, who has been waiting so patiently in the wings to come forward and let us know how this supply chain logistics can be improved over time. Especially there are mills in far-flung areas, and the whole world is changing. Everything is happening quicker. And also your outlook on wheat in the current season. Pradeep ji. You're on mute. Unmute yourself, please.
Yeah. Let me thank you all people to invite me for this seminar. Yeah, I have been in the industry for last about 25, 30 years now. I may be one of the largest buyers, I think, in initial days, 2000, 2005, 6, 7. So but now I have seen everybody has told almost all the points. Our Mr. Gupta was telling about 4 points, 3 points: crude, currency, climate. Another thing which was always been discussed throughout the whole day was, throughout the seminar, was the control mechanism set by the government time and again. So I think my takeaway is that if the procurement decisions for every commodities are often with limited visibility, fragmented information, and delayed data, and when the same time seasonality, price volatility, climate disruptions, geopolitical uncertainties, regional government policies are making agri commodity procurement even more complex, I think it's a time for all the people to set back and make your own enhancement in your supply chain, so that you all people are in a position to better demand and forecasting your own digital procurement and farmer integration, so that you can have a very good supply chain visibility and inventory optimization, which will definitely impact your lower inventory cost, faster decision making, reduce logistics cost, and improved working capital efficiency. So these are some of the things which people should do immediately. And I think agri supply chains will always be in uncertainty, weather, markets, and global disruptions. If you see currently the global disruptions, what is happening, and if the organization combine their own technology, data, smart procurement strategy, definitely they will turn into a competitive advantage. So my take on this year wheat is almost matching with Mr. Chandrasekhar, because there are a lot of, I have seen this kind of movement happening. And right now, everybody is now sitting on the fence, seeing that what should be the market, how the market is going to go down. So, and then suddenly, when there is some kind of 1 or 2 points which will get a panic situation, and everybody will be in the market will shoot up. And definitely on a longer horizon, and the kind of other people have already told about the El Nino and all, I foresee a post June and July, a different kind of spike coming in. That is my personal view. Ajay ji?
Yes, Pradeep ji. Anything else you would like to add, Pradeep ji?
Yeah, on the another which I always see, that is how the whole supply chain transformation, which Gaurav has also pointed out very well, the way they all people are doing. I think that is a way all the organizations should be doing this supply chain transformation. And if we are not doing, I think then we will be a fence sitters. So I believe the future of agriculture will be shaped not only how we grow food, by how intelligently we design the supply chains that will deliver to the last mile, to the consumers. And right now, supply chain transformation is no longer a competitive advantage. It is a survival strategy. If we will not transform ourselves, we are going to become obsolete. So it is my suggestion to all the distinguished panelists, as well as to all the people, those who are listening to us, please always do some kind of introspection. how best you can change your supply chain.
Right. Thank you. I think you see more and more millers creating bulk capacity storages in their vicinity in the past few years. And I think that is one of the steps forward. And it is only the transportation and other storage which continues in gunny bags and bags. And we are being faced with this crisis of not having bags, although having the wheat. Storage crisis, sort of packaging material crisis that is looming large in front of us. So thank you, Pradeep ji, for your participation in our webinar. And I would like to thank all the other panelists and the participants for having taken the time out to register and come. So this was just the first part of our webinar. Our second part of the webinar takes place on 20th of March. Next week at the same time, and we will be having a little different panel. We will be having Mr. Khalid from ITC, Mr. Ashish from Olam, Mr. Sandeep Bansal, Mr. Sahil Sethi from Louis Dreyfus, Mr. Mudit Goyal and Ms. Garima Jain also, and maybe one or two more surprises in the next week's thing. So I would also request that participants can bring in a few more questions and either WhatsApp it to me or in one of the groups that you would like to be raised with our panelists next week. And I'm concluding this session now. Thank you, everybody, for the cooperation extended. Thank you very much. Thank you, sir.